Hello everyone, my name is NAVANZA and I'm representing Group 7 in the Analysis and Design of Information Systems final project. With me are my group members RESTU SAPUTRA, NAUFAL, and PRABHJOT. For our final project, we will be based on Assessment Center Indonesia, or ACI. It's a unit under the Directorate of Human Capital Management at PT Telkom Indonesia. To understand why we built the system, we need to first look at who ACI is. ACI was established in 1990, and they provide assessment services like psychological tests, leadership simulations for not just the Telkom group, but for other national-owned companies and PTNs. During our analysis, during our interview with our subject, Ibu Mia, we discovered three critical pain points from their system. One is the rigidity. Their reporting templates are hard-coded, and the project managers can't easily change the competencies. The fragility. The existing system has a bunch of weird, bad, fragile code, and meaning a change in one part might break the others. And lastly is integration. There's the disconnect between ACI and Telkom's main data system, which means they have to migrate the data manually.
From that explanation from DELON, what we've proposed for the solution is that we wanted to make an integrated assessment reporting system, which will has a modular design, which will be easier to maintain, solving the fragility issue, and then two is tiered approval, which has digital workflow from assessor to project manager to manager, and then to general manager, and then third last is secure integration, direct connection to Telkom engine via API.
Okay, there's a system requirement in the system. The first one, execute assessment. So the system must provide an interface for participants to access and complete their assessment task. The actor is participant, and then the second is perform evaluation and reporting. So the system must allow the actor to view a participant's work, enter evaluation data, write narrative reports, and retrieve finalized report for feedback session. There's assessor for this functional requirement. And then next is manage user and activity mapping. So a system must allow an activity administrator to set up specific assessment event, assign participant to those events, and map participant to specific assessor. So there's activity for the activity administrator. And then retrieve final reports. So the system must allow assessor to access and download the finalized approved report to conduct feedback session. And the fifth is manage approval workflow. So the system must support a tiered approval process where manager to manager and general manager, where reports can be approved or returned for revision. Six is manage data integration. So the system must, upon final GM approval, automatically send the assessment data to the company's main human capital system. The seventh is track report status. So the system must provide a dashboard that shows the status of reports, for example, which are pending and which are complete, to identify delays in the workflow. So the last is configure project. So the system must allow the project manager to create new project and define the required competency matrix. So this our use case diagram. There are several actors: the participant, assessor, activity administrator, project manager, general manager, and IT team.
So now the non-functional requirements. The non-functional requirements are here like security and access control. The first, the system must enforce strict and role-based access control due to personal data protection laws. And for example, assessor must only be able to access the data specific participants they are assigned to, and that done by the security. Second is maintainability and modifiability. The system should be built in a modular architect. Currently, changes in one part of the system affect many other parts and making maintenance difficult and risky that come in the maintainability. Third, Usability. The system should be user-friendly, intuitive, and flexible, addressing the current rigidity of the interface. Let's come in the usability. Fourth, interoperability. The system must integrate with external systems, specify pushing final data to the company instance comes in the operationals. Performance. The system should be offer fast response time for the data retrieval and accesses the tasks that come in the performance. Six, scalability. The system must be able to handle data for thousands of people and serve the entire telecom group comes in operational. And seven, the data integrity. The system must ensure data is accurate and protect from the corruption as it moves through the multi-step approval workflow that come in the security.
Okay, so this the activity diagrams. The first one is execute assessment. So start with the participant, and the participant is input username and password, and the system will validating credentials and displaying independent assessment. So the participant can choose an active assessment module, and the system will displaying instruction and question or text. So the participant can enter an answer or performing simulation, and then after that, the participant can click submit, and the system will saving data to the database and displaying a success message. And then in the track report status, there's a project manager from the start and login, and then the system will login validate and displaying the dashboard. The project manager will open monitoring dashboard, and then the system will displaying report status, and the project manager will filter by the project, and the system will displaying progress detail.
Okay, so next we have the activity diagrams for approval workflow and retrieve final report. So first of all, we have the approval workflow. The project manager or general manager will log in and open pending approval dashboard, and then they will select and open a report. And then next is the set file locked by another user. If yes, then notify the user and then refresh the status, and then this process ends. If it's not locked, so it continues to display report details, and then the manager could review scores and narrative, and then next he will decide they will decide if the scores and narrative will be approved. Then they will click approve, and then next they update the status to the next level. If they reject the scores and narrative, then they will click reject or return, and then they will input revision notes, and then the status refers to revision needed, and then those two process joins and then goes back to the system because they will save the decision, and there's the decision is that if it's the save successful. If it's successful, then it will notify the user. If it's not successful, then it will notify user of data save failure. And then next we have the retrieve final report. We have the assessor and the system. The process starts when the assessor logs in, and then the assessor search for a participant name in final reports menu, and then next the system will try to find it. Is it found, and it is the report finalized? If it's not those two, then the system will display a report not available message, and then the process ends. If it's found the report and it's finalized, then it will display the search results, and then back to the assessor's display. It will select the finalized report, and then after the assessor selects the report, the system renders the report on their screens, and then after that the assessor decides if they want to perform the alternative process. If they want, then the process continues to click export PDF, and it goes back to the system. The system will try to attempt to generate the PDF. If it's successful, it will initiates a download from the from the assessor's browser. If it's not successful, it will display a message saying report not available. Uh, if the assessor doesn't want to perform the alternative process, the process continues on until basically the assessor just views the report, and then after that the process ends.
So there are the two activity diagrams, user and activity mapping and configuration project. In the user activity mapping, here we will start with the actor will log in the system, and then system display the administration dashboard, and then the actor select the activity schedule which he or she wants and select the participations from that list, and that scheduling and assistant for that the drop down, and from the system it will check the assessor availability and include and get the decision. If yes, then confirm the availability and click the assign by the administration, and storing the map of participants and assistant in the database. If the no, display the conflict warning example XSM and prevent the assignment, and back for the selecting the assessor from the drop down, and it will end this user activity mapping. In configuration project activity diagram, the project management actor will start by the entering the credentials into login, and the system then will validate the credentials and display the dashboard, and then the project management can create the new project and it will display on the system and display the project created from, and enter the project name and client and the data by the project manager, and selecting the companies to be the reschedule include, and take the decision to um, cancel or okay to save. In between that, if it cancel, it's discard the input and will go for the display the PM dashboard. If it's okay, sure, it will validate the input and it will take decision again. If it's yes, it will creating a project structure in the database and display the project created confirmation. If it's no, it will asking the project management to correct the data, and it will go again in displaying the project confirm form, and it will end that the process here for the configuration project.
Okay, so for the next activity diagram is managing data integration. This is done by the IT team. First, what needs to happen is for the report to already be fully approved. And what the IT team does is it's going to export it from the ACI system to the telecom's main system. To do that, they must first log in. And after logging in, the IT team selects data as export from the menu, and then they filter the data by project or date, and then they select export to engine. And then the system packages the data and sends it via an AI. If it succeeds, you're going to receive a fallback success from the system. And then it will say display export successful once it has successfully exported the report to the main system. If it fails, it's going to say export failed and going to log the trouble. The post condition is that the data will exist in the external engines. For the last activity diagram we have is the preparation and submission of reports. This is done by the assessors. Before this happens, an assessor needs to already be mapped to a participant. And the assessor will first log in, and the system will display a list of assigned participants. The assessor will then select participants from the list, and the system will again display an evaluation form. After that, the assessor will input the data for the scores of each competency according to the matrix. And after saving it, it will save the data without validation, aka a draft. And then you can redo entering more data, or you can move on to validating that all the fields are mandatory. And then after all the fields are confirmed to be mandatory, all the fields are confirmed to be filled, it will save the report and wait for the approval of the PM, GM, and the managers.
Okay, so next we have the sequence diagram. So we have the approval workflow diagram, which the project manager will open the report, and then the approval UI will send the get report data to workflow controller, and then the controller fetches the content needed from the report document, and then after that it will return the content and then display the report back to the approval UI, which the project manager sees, and then the project manager clicks approve. After that, the approval UI sends it to the via the process approval, sends it to the workflow controller, and then after that the workflow controller says that set the status to OK, and then the report document will confirm and then confirm the update of the status, and then it will send it back to the controller. After that, it will notify back to the UI, which will notify the success of the update, which the project manager sees. And then next we have the retrieve final report, which the assessor has. So the assessor first will search a name in the report, and then the report UI will get the report data from the report controller, and then the report controller will fetch the data from the report document. After that, it will return it with return status, and then the controller will reply with get PDF content, sends it back to report document. After that, the return document will return it as a PDF. Then after that, back to the controller. The controller will display the report that was requested back to the report UI, which the assessor sees.
Okay, so there is a execute assessment. So the participants logs into the assessment portal and start a simulation. And the assessment processor retrieve the questions. Once the participants submit their answer, the assessment processor saves the data into the assessment result entity. And then the track report status manager access the management dashboard. The admin processor requires the project database to count reports in draft, review, and approve state, then display the statistic on the screen.
So now the sequence diagram is user and activity mapping and configuration project. In this user and activity mapping, in this the actor activity admin first will select the pair participant and the accessor, and then goes to the schedule UI, and it will assign the participant and accessor. It will assign it to the mapping controller, and then it will mapping controller check the availability accessor in the schedule data, and it will return the message return status to the mapping controller, and the mapping controller again send the message of function saving mapping and check the participant and accessor, and in the schedule data it will return the confirm save message in the function, and it will return to the mapping controller, and mapping controller will return the function show success message to the scheduler UI schedule UI. In configuration project, the actor project management will start by the creating the project function in the project UI, which will be in the project controller, and the project controller will return the show setup form to the project UI, and the project manager then again will submit the details in the project UI, and project UI will send the save project data function in the project controller, and it will return itself the function validate the data, and it will send the control to the project data to insert the record, and it will insert the data in it, and it will return the message for the validation of the success in return success to the project controller, and the project controller will return the showing the confirmation of the message to the project management by the function show confirm message in the project UI, and the project manager can see.
Okay, so next we have manage data integration. Our entity is the engine API, our boundary, and our controller is the integration controller, and the boundary is the export UI. The IT team first clicks export, and then the controller will export it and send the data to the engine API to a JSON file. And then once that is done, and the API returns success, it will return success, and the UI will along success, and it will show that the integration has been successfully done and the data has been exported. And lastly, we have evaluation and reporting. The entity is the assessment result, the controller is the assessment controller, and the boundary is the evaluation UI. First, the assessor will select the participant, and it will request the form, and it will get the competencies from the competency matrix. And then the assessment result will return the data and will show the form back to the assessor through the UI. Afterwards, the assessor will input scores, and after the scores have been inputted, the assessor will submit the report. In this, the assessment controller will continue validating the inputs to make sure all the fields are filled in and the input data is according to what the system is looking for. After all the validation is done, the controller will save the data, save the result, and after confirming that the data has been saved, it will display success message. Next, we have the class diagram. So for our class diagram, we designed a more robust data structure. We moved away from the old rigid structure, and we adopted a more object-oriented approach. We first have the actor hierarchy. We have first the user class. We use inheritance to create a staff class for internal employees and a participant class for the test takers. The staff class is also another superclass, which allows us to have more classes of employees, such as activity administrator, assessor, project manager, IT team, and the general manager. And then we also have the project composition. We have the project. It has a composition with the assessment results, which enforces strict data integrity, aka an assessment result cannot exist without a valid project. And we also have the competency reusability. In the competency matrix, we use aggregation here because it allows ACI to reuse the central competency matrix libraries that they have across all the projects so that they can reuse that. And for the cardinality, assessor has a one-to-many with assessment results because one assessor can have can assess many different participants, and they have many different assessment results. The project manager can also manage multiple projects.
So here is the component diagram. In component diagram, we have to divide the components in 4 parts: client, Victrism, database, and the Telegram group as ecosystem. So the client, Victrism, and database are system API for the interface. Component client have the component of the web browser, which will access the assessment by which the user can access the assessment portal and the management dashboard. On that, the client can so the data will goes on the Victrism like for reporting module, and can access the provable workflow engine and settlement nodes and taking interface and project setup module. And the data will be stored in the database by the DB system, which is connected to Victrism, and in the Victrism for the database to store the data, and the Telegram group ecosystem have the two more components: corporate university and the intern data system, to having the data about the client which she need access to this website.
So next we have the deployment diagram. So on the left side is the client layer of what the client sees, aka the UI, which has the components of the web browser. Then we have the front end PHP and management dashboard PHP. And then in the middle, there's the application layer, which is the sort of the brain part of the systems, which has the components of project controller, report controller, mapping controller, workflow controller, integration controller, exam engine, analytics controller, assessment controller, and then that will connect to the database layer, aka the memory, which stores all the data from staffs and applicants and so on. This has the component of the database server, and inside that has the server from Telkom itself, which is Virastium. And also for the database, there's the artifacts, which is the participants, projects, reports, assessors, tables.
So in conclusion, the integrated assessment report system we have designed has successfully transformed Achi's workflow from a more rigid manual process into a more flexible integrated system. By solving the issues of integration and making the reporting more modular, our design ensures that Achi can scale its operations more in the future. We have been Group 7. Thank you.